Hello, everybody. Steve here from The Varied Life, and today, as you can see here, with cost of living comparison and some other questions. It's interesting because I pretty much get a lot of the same questions over and over, and I'll type out a bunch of responses because people will send me PMs, but in this case, I'm feeling kind of lazy, so I figured it's easier to talk and just record a video off the fly and go that route. And since I've gone over this, I can also show you some great resources and the numbers of kind of what we're experiencing here. So with that being said, the first thing is a comparison. If I can get my phone up. So I'm going to be referencing two messages from some people. I'm not going to give their names. They're going to remain anonymous. But they're pretty much the same questions, just kind of minor different circumstances. Like this individual says, how often are there angry CS throwing, brick tossing demonstrations in Korea these days? Well, actually, I haven't really seen that many. Now, back when I first got to Korea in 1988, and when it was actually 88 or 89, I was involved in a couple of riots, demonstrations, and that was when I was up at Camp Page in Chuncheon, which is in the northeast part of Korea. And I was teaching conversational English on the weekend, and it ends up, well, there was a demonstration as I was walking back to the military base. It ends up, it's like, man, there's a lot of people, and then there's chanting and so on and so forth, and it was like 3,000 or 5,000 people that were demonstrating. And yeah, people were angry and stuff like that. I was obviously the only round-eyed non-Korean person in the mix, and as we're getting close to the main drag that goes up to the main entry of Camp Page, started hearing buses, started hearing law enforcement and the riot patrol people in the buses and stuff like that. And I guess they were getting ready to pop off some CS, and actually they did. So that was kind of interesting. But it was so awesome because the Koreans that were around me took me into a building to get me out of the CS. So I've been involved in a few other demonstrations, not on purpose, but recently, we've been here for almost 2 years now. Yeah, I haven't seen anything. They've had some demonstrations and stuff close to Camp Humphreys. They've had some religious cult that is kind of a weird thing. They do demonstrations, but it's not like, throw bottles or whatever. It's just kind of a weird thing now. But there's a lot of law enforcement here. Like they just had Armistice Day a couple of days ago, and they had demonstrations and so on and so forth. They must have had like 5 or 10 long city buses full of police and riot people and the whole 9 yards, but nothing ever happened. So I think things have gotten a little bit better since the time I was in Korea in the 80s and the 90s and so on and so forth. But for the last 2 years since we lived here, I haven't experienced any of that. Talks about summers in Korea. In case you didn't know, these next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks in Korea are going to be absolutely miserable. The temperature is going to be crazy hot, and the humidity is going to be terrible. And it's so hot and humid that you don't want to go outside. You don't want to touch anybody. You don't want to look at anybody. Everybody's grumpy. It's just sweating bullets. And the other day I did a video and I lost about 2 pounds. I was totally drenched. And then my wife the other day, she went to the open air market and she's like, yeah, I should have went. She was drenched as well. It was just horrible. So yeah, there's a time where, of course, we're coming into the end of July. July and August are generally the worst months in Korea for the hot summers. So yeah. Let's see, what else do we got? Somebody was asking, he says, hey, are there free Korean reading classes or Korean language classes? I've noticed that on the military base, they will have free Korean orientation and some Korean language classes, the basic stuff. I've also noticed on Facebook and things like that they will have Korean classes that are kind of offered, and there's some groups that if you look, you can find like conversational English and conversational Korean, and they meet like once a week at a coffee shop, and everybody kind of, learns how to speak Korean or practice speaking Korean or doing the alphabet or learning how to read and so on and so forth. So those things are available. They're a lot more available now than when I first got to Korea, because it was like, nobody wanted to learn Korean, but everybody wanted to learn English. And now you've got more people that want to learn Korean. And so, yeah, organizations and I guess kind of like nonprofits are teaching and taking people and stuff like that. So, and you can also get private lessons as well, but you're going to pay a little bit of money. Let's see what else. Banking is, we talked about banking and how you can get a bank account, but when you're here, and I'm talking about long-term visa, so whether you're students, you're employed, or kind of like us, we're retired here in Korea on an F1 and F4 visa, you get your alien registration card or Korean registration card, KRC, because alien is somehow offensive. So with that, you can get your bank account, and banking is a little bit different here in Korea than it is in the United States. It's more regulated. In the States, it ends up that, I can open 100 bank accounts if I want, in 100 different banks in a day, if that, I could do that if it was physically possible. But there's no limit on the amount of bank accounts that I could open. Here in Korea, when we got here, it was like you have your Korean registration card and you open a Korean bank account, and they specifically told us, do not open another account within 30 days. That's just not something they do. And they do not have joint accounts like they do in the United States. So every individual has their own account. So my wife has her own account, I have my own account. There are no joint accounts. Now, does that mean that? No, because my wife, she will take my bank card and she'll do deposits, if I'm doing something else, and she's going to run by the bank. So there's that. But there is no joint accounts. So, that's just one of the oddities of being here in Korea. Another question is that this individual asked is health insurance requirement for visas. And he quoted this, it's in quotes, personal medical insurance covering at least 100 million won for hospital treatment and repatriation during their stay in Korea. I'm not sure about that. All I know is that my TRICARE Prime that I had in the United States could be converted over and changed to TRICARE Overseas Select, and that fulfilled the requirements for health insurance that is recognized here in Korea. You can also get the Korean National Health Insurance, which is about $100, $110 a month, and you can get Barney Basic Care just like all the other Koreans. It's all right. There's small copays that you have with each of those. There are individuals that do have both, but as far as people having separate insurance policies, I don't know anybody that has done that. So that's not my wheelhouse. I just have no clue. And I was trying to look up online that requirement for medical insurance when you stay in Korea, and I can't find it anywhere. So wherever you found that out, I'm not sure. I'm clueless. But apparently whatever insurance that I have with TRICARE Overseas Select is enough to satisfy the requirements for Korean healthcare as an exception to that. As far as other policies, I really don't know, and I wish I could tell you, but I just can't. That's all there is to it. There are... do you have any insight on how this actually maps to American health insurance policies? I have no clue. Now, it does seem to me that if you have an American health insurance policy, it needs to be accepted by the Korean hospital or clinic that you go to. And I haven't seen any of that. I've seen clinics and hospitals that will take TRICARE, but I don't know anybody who has, and I'm not saying this doesn't mean that this doesn't happen, but as far as American health insurance policies that you buy, I got no clue. So I'm totally useless on that. So I'm sorry. Let's see what else. We'll go on to, let me double check. Visas. Visas, we talked about those. You can do educational, work work visas, digital nomad visas, which Korea has just started doing that, and I think that's like a 2-year thing. That's like a F1 or F2 or something. I can't remember what it is. But a digital nomad visa is a thing now, but you still have to have medical coverage and so on and so forth. And I think the term is like 1 year, and then maybe 2 years. I'm not exactly sure. You could live over here and work and do the digital nomad thing and have fun. If you can work remotely, that's good to go. Let's see. Okay, I think we're done with that. And then, okay, come on. Here's some other questions. So this person contacted me and said that they're getting a job at a local military base that is around this area. That's all I'm going to say for that. And it's interesting because this person ends up saying that they don't get paid like the amount they would get in the United States. However, they do get compensated for housing and utilities. So yeah, it's if you add that amount in, then you're kind of getting a commensurate pay with that. And that's just a thing. It depends. Government jobs and things like that. That's where it comes down to. What are some other things he ends up saying? So really, it comes down to, how much are you going to be paying for housing, or how much is the company that you're working for going to pay for housing, and you should really kind of include that into your total compensation, because if you got paid a large amount and you had to pay for housing on your own, that's still an expense. So if the company that you're working for or government that you're working for is going to pay your housing and utilities, you're still essentially getting paid. Okay, so they're just kind of doing the housing and utility budget part for you, so you don't have to, and then you get paid what you get paid. I wish we could always get paid more, but it's just not a thing. It's not common with those type of jobs. The question is comparison. This is a question I get a lot, and so people ask me and say, well, what's the cost comparison between Korea and, or different countries and the United States where I live? And people will, Las Vegas, Colorado, New York, Los Angeles. I'll get a number of people that will ask me, well, what are the prices like, overseas there in Korea? And by the way, I live in New York City, and it's like, it's going to be a hell of a lot less. Let me tell you that. But instead of relying on me, you can actually go to a website that will show you a pretty good ballpark figure for comparison of where you live versus here in Korea or other countries, and we're going to kind of go over that. Let me see what else there is on here. The question was asked, we eat a lot of healthy foods, a lot of Korean foods anyway with this couple, and living in Korea, there's a lot of Korean food that's available. So, that's a thing here. Have prices gone up in Korea? Yes, they have, and I would say they've probably gone up about anywhere, depending on the food or the item, can be 15 to 20 to 30% on some items. And some items are even higher because it's dependent upon items coming from other countries, so you're going to have that ripple effect. And I've talked about this before in past videos where the war in Ukraine, because Ukraine supplies an insane amount of grains and whatever, and now that the war is going on and has been going on, that jacks up the price of grains, which kind of ripples through everything else. You jack up the price of grain, you're going to jack up the price of meats, you're going to jack up the price of this and that, and it's just kind of crazy. So anyway, I would say about a 20% increase, kind of on average. Let's see, what else? Let's take a look. I want to show you the comparison. Now we're going to look over my expenses a little bit as far as housing, utility, electricity, city gas, property taxes, cell phone service, trash, water, all those things. We'll get into the particulars, but this person was asking for, well, I live in, let's just pick out a place. I'll show you. So here we are, Numbeo, and this is a really great tool. I did a video and I talked about Numbeo, but I just talked about typing in Piontek, which is close to where we live, and how it's pretty much in the ballpark in regards to pricing. However, there's also this thing that you go to Numbeo and you have cost of living comparison. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And you get down here and you can say, okay, well, where do you live now? Let's put in Las Vegas, just for the hell of it. I've been to Vegas a couple times. Not really my cup of tea, but it's one of those bucket list things that you cross off. And then we'll put on Piontek, South Korea. And what you can do, so no matter where you live, Denver, New York, whatever, you can do that, and we'll go ahead and hit compare. And what we will end up getting is, let me see, I got to make this a little bit bigger so we can see everything. I think we're good. I think we're good. Little OCD action here. Okay. So, can we? No, I think that's it. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so anyway, it ends up that the cost of difference between Las Vegas, Nevada and Piontek. For some reason, I get a lot of people that are contacting me from Las Vegas. A bunch of people live in Las Vegas. Kind of a similar situation. They're married to somebody who has Korean ancestry or was a Korean citizen, became a U.S. citizen, and now they're getting up to the retirement age, and they're thinking, hey, maybe we could retire and go back to Korea. The wife has been following me around all these years. Let's get back to Korea. Or it could be like in our case, where I was the one that wanted to go back to Korea, and the wife, it wasn't really on her mind. And then when we found out we could do it and retiring overseas would allow us to retire early, then it kind of became a thing. So for example, we can go on here and we have it in US dollars. You can also set it to whatever currency you want, but we'll just keep it in US dollars. Like an inexpensive meal at a restaurant, you're going to look at about $20 a person, about $6.15. So there's a difference of about 69%, almost 70%. And that really depends on the meal. It depends on where you go and the inexpense of the restaurant. But then again, somebody like me who's 255 pounds, 6'2", and I eat a lot of meat, those prices are going to go up, okay? Meal for two in a mid-range restaurant, 3-course meal. Las Vegas, you're looking at about $75, and Piontek, it's about $30, $40, maybe $50. And there, if you go back to this Numbeo page and you just look at Piontek by itself, they'll actually have graphs of, let me see if we can pull this up, and I'll show you what we're talking about. So cost of living, dun dun, and we'll just go down here and we'll do Piontek, South Korea. No, I'm not going to sign in. But you'll see these graphs over here, and you can see like the meal for a 2-people mid-range restaurant, and you'll have kind of a range of 30,000 won to 100,000 won. And if we put that back to US dollars, then you can kind of get the range of $20 to $72. Okay, so you can get kind of, I wish they had this range on the other page that we're looking at here. I don't know, that would work out really well. But McDonald's, Las Vegas, you're looking at about $12, $15, maybe about $15 to $17 for a meal. Depends on the meal, but yeah, I would say that's kind of 60% difference. It's $4.70. I would say it would go up a little bit more. But this will get you within the ballpark. Of course, it depends on the meal that you get. If it's just a Barney Basic combo meal, yeah, it'd probably be a little bit more. But it's close. It's in range. And here what you can end up showing is like milk. For a liter of milk is about 97 cents. In Piontek, it's about $2. Bread is just a little bit cheaper. We get ours on the military commissary, so it's cheaper even still. Rice, it's always going to be cheaper here. 12 eggs, you're looking at $3.41. Some places, and people have contacted me, told me that they're paying like $4, $5, $6, $7 for 12 eggs. I think we ended up getting a rack of eggs, which is 30 eggs. It was 10,001, and for those of you who are wondering, 10,001 divided by the exchange rate of about 10,001, and the exchange rate is 13.50. It's about 7.40. So about $7.40 for 30 eggs. So yeah, eggs are kind of a good thing here in Korea. Definitely get a lot better deal. Cheese is going to be kind of expensive, or on par, or a little bit more expensive. And if it's American cheese or cheese, kind of high-end cheeses, they will always be more expensive on the economy. Chicken is a little bit cheaper, but that's going up in price. We've noticed that as well, but we go to the commissary on the military base, so we save on that aspect. But you can go through and you can do the price comparisons of all these things: transportation, taxi times, gasoline, basic electricity. So electricity, heating, cooling, water, and garbage for an 82 square meter apartment. Las Vegas is about $225 in Pyeongtaek, which is a little bit more expensive than where we live. It's about 146, and we'll kind of go over and show you what ours is, show you where we're at. Monthly cell phone plan with calls and 10 gig of data. Ours is unlimited. Las Vegas, it says it's about $70. Pyeongtaek, it's about $40, $50. We're actually paying about $80 for unlimited service for 2 phones, and both our phones are paid off. So, but again, it'll kind of get you within the ballpark. Internet, we're paying about $15. Ours is a little bit lower because it's bundled with our TV, so they have bundled things as well. Childcare, clothing. Clothing is basically useless for me. Me being 6'2" and 250, it's hard to buy clothes. I can't buy clothes at a Korean mall. I would have to go to a specialty big and tall shop. So keep that in mind. Yeah, buy underwear, socks, and now I understand why old people want underwear and socks. I don't know, maybe it's a thing. Rent per month. This is kind of interesting. Let's say apartment, 3 bedrooms in city center is about $2,600 in Las Vegas. In Korea, about $850. I would say that's kind of low. I would say that is a low amount right there. That's low. Can you find places like that? Yes, you can. We have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and it would rent out for, I don't know, $1,400, $1,500 a month or whatever. So it kind of depends on where you're at, but then where you're at also depends on the rent. If you're in a place where it's just on the local economy, you're going to have a little bit lower rents. But if you're kind of like in the area where we are, and we're close to a military base, and there's military and civilians and families and contractors that live in these apartments, you will garner higher rates of rent. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. That financing, salaries, it doesn't really have that. But it's got some pretty good stuff as far as cost of living and indexes and things like that. But what you can end up doing is, and you could have some other cities that you could look at as well. But this is a decent way to look at utilities and find out and say, hey, well, how much, what's the difference between where I live and certain places in Korea? Obviously, if you put, let's go ahead and we'll change this to, I don't want to do that. Let's go back and Las Vegas, and we'll do SEOUL, Seoul, South Korea, and compare those, and you'll see there's a bigger difference. So we see some prices have gone up, the difference has gone down. If we look at, because everybody wants to live in Seoul, but if we look at Utilities, basic electricity, heating, cooling, so on and so forth, you're looking about 180. So there's about a 20% difference. Depends on, you know, rent per month, 3 bedrooms. Yeah, I would say that's low for Seoul. But then again, it depends on where you're going to rent in Seoul for 3 bedrooms. If it's in the city center, 2,500. That could be low. That there's definitely higher in Seoul. Again, it depends on what neighborhood you live in. So, but yeah, this Numbeo Place website is a good way to look at property prices. I haven't even really looked at this because we just looked off of prices off of Naver. But just for the hell of it, Pyeongtaek, South Korea. Yeah, we'll skip that. So it has some property prices. So let's see what we end up. Rent per month. That's kind of low in the city center. That's pretty close to where we're at. But I know that in Pyeongtaek proper, rent prices have gone up. But again, you've got a range of about 850,000 to 1,500,000 won, which is. There's definitely higher rents in Pyeongtaek and other places. So, yeah, it just is what it is. So you got to take some of this with a grain of salt on what you see on this page. Now, the thing about Numbeo is that it's done when people submit information to this website to give you those comparisons. So it's real world comparisons, but how, you can add data for Pyeongtaek. And you could go through there for closing pair of jeans or whatever, and then you could kind of go through there and update what the current prices are that you're experiencing. But we don't really know how often this is updated. So again, that's why I say you got to take it with a grain of salt. So for expenses, some other people are asking me, well, your apartment, how much did your apartment cost? Our 4-bedroom, 2-bath, underground parking garage, has a semi-private elevator, brownstone apartments. So in other words, when it comes up to our floor, there's our unit and one other. But if you get a unit that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, in those buildings and the way that they're laid out, you're going to have an elevator that comes up and you'll have multiple units. So it might be a little bit louder. The great thing about Korea is that people generally in Korea are quieter than they are in the United States in regards to people living in apartments. So, at least in my experience, maybe for other people it's a little bit different. So for our house, our apartment, I think we paid about 250,000 won or $250,000, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. It's about 1,500 square feet. It's paid off. Our property tax is about $200 or 16 or 20, maybe $25 a month. It depends on the exchange rate. When I originally did this, it was a different exchange rate. Apartment fees, which includes landscape maintenance, elevator maintenance, security, electricity, water, trash, all of that stuff. Repairs, lighting in the underground garage, and all of that stuff. All of the people that are here basically 24/7. You have managers that are here in office and secretary that work in the office, and they get paid out of those funds from, I think it's almost like 1,000 units here. Electricity is about $37. Now electricity has gone up because in June, we just got our bill for June, and that's like 63,000 won. Comes out to about $46 or $50. And when next month hits and we get July's bill, I think it's going to be a little bit higher because of the air conditioner usage. So we'll see how that goes. But people are asking me about this, so I'm just going to go over it again. So here we have housing. Again, property taxes kind of went up. It's like $20 a month. In the United States, I was paying, our property tax was like, when we sold, it was like $1,800, $1,700 or $1,800 a year. But it had gone up $100 every year without fail. $100 and some change, $105. And you kind of do the math, And it ends up that with your expenses, especially property tax, you think, it's not much. It's there's other places that are worse. But when it consistently goes up an average of $100 per year, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, let's see, I've got, I'm 50 and I got to go until 65, and that's when I'm planning, or 67 when I'm going to retire. Add up all those increments of averaging $100, and what's your property tax going to be when you get to retirement age? Yeah, you still got property tax here in Korea, but it's not as much as what it is in the United States, and the increases are not as much as well. So we go back here. Apartment fee is about $175 a month, $180. Things have gone up a little bit. Electricity can be anywhere from 37, and like I said, it's like 46 or 50 right now. Maybe it will get about $60 for the hottest part of the summer because of the air conditioner and dehumidifier and so on and so forth. Water and sewer is $10. Trash is included. Gas, which is city gas, so the gas is used to heat your water and hot water on demand. And it also does the in-floor heating during the winter. So the heat comes up through the floor, which is really nice and toasty for your toasty toes. Internet and 250 channels of Korean TV with some American channels comes out to $30 a month. And it's high-speed internet. There is higher and faster internet that you can get, but we make these videos, we stream YouTube and streaming services and so on and so forth, and TV, all of that comes over, and we don't have any problems with any lag. But if you had like a job where you were doing remote work and it was a lot of crunching numbers, or maybe you're sending information or video editing or something that took a lot of information that you had to send back and forth from here to out in the internet world, wherever you work, you might want to go for that next level of speed on internet. We've got our 2 cell phone service here is $80 a month for unlimited service. Never had any problems except when a couple of areas, but it's kind of like when we're traveling, going through mountains or in tunnels and stuff like that. Reception is really good, and we paid for our phones. So those are all paid off, and we're paying $80 for both our phones. Water, we get water filter because a lot of people get the filtered water, have a machine that filters the water. We took the cheapest one, which is $9 a month. So yeah, all of this included is about $420. I would say realistically now, probably about $450 a month. And I think at the height of the summer, maybe $450, $475 maybe. And then we got some other things here. But basically, we're looking around $500 a month. And we have some other expenses as well. So, and this doesn't include food. People are asking about food. I did a video where I went over food, and I will take a look at that. Well, you can search my YouTube page, The Varied Life, and, well, heck, I might even just post that. I think I just did that on the recent video, matter of fact. Transportation, people ask about transportation. We bought a Hyundai 2018 one owner. It was a rental car, but it was in awesome condition. Monthly insurance is about $110. Now that's down because as retirees, we don't drive back and forth to work every day, so our driving is limited. So we qualified for lower insurance on this next term for a policy when we updated our policy, and they're like, yeah, you're great. We lowered your insurance to like, I think $85 or $90 a month. Gas, about $30, $40 to fill it up on a military base, which I have access to. Off post, it's about $60, $70 to fill up a tank. So really, that's about another $145 a month, $150 a month. So yeah, our apartment, utilities, vehicle comes out to about $607. I'd say probably, if you throw in some other things, maybe about $700 a month. To be realistic, but that's without food, that's without entertainment, that's no movies, no eating out, and we eat out every once in a while. So yeah, it works out pretty good. And I've got another graphic here that kind of compared what we were paying in Colorado compared to here in Korea. So for housing, to rent out the house that we had, which we had bought the house and we eventually had paid it off, but somebody had asked me about, what's the comparison of Colorado and Korea. That square footage of house would rent for $2,000. Here in Korea, for a similar in the area that we're in, we're looking at $1,400 a month for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. The house that we had was 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but it was a master bath, had an oversized 2-car garage, and had an unfinished basement. So that came out to about $2,000. When I did this, I think this was last year. So obviously the rent has probably kind of gone up. Property tax, $165 a month here in Korea. When we first got this apartment, it was about $16 a month. Now I'd say it's about $20. So difference in electricity, $140 a month to $40. Saving $100 a month right there. Gas in the United States, we're paying about $90 to $100 a month. Here in Korea, it's about $65. It can go up during the winter, so be aware of that. Water, United States was like $40 a month. Here in Korea, it's $10. Trash is $20 a month. Here in Korea, it's free. It's not free, but it's included in what we pay with the apartment fee, and it works. Internet in the United States, we're paying for the cheapest that we could find was $75 a month. Here in Korea, our internet is $15, but that's bundled with our cable TV, which is also $15. And in the United States, we're paying like $135 for a ton of channels of basically crap that we didn't really watch anyway. So, yeah, basically, and even in the States, we got rid of our cable TV because there just wasn't really that much, and we got into more streaming services, kind of like Netflix and Hulu, and, pick your poison. Cell phone service, we talked about that. We were paying about $130, maybe $150, depending if your phone's paid off or not. All that comes into play. But yeah, we're paying about $80 for both our phones. Car insurance is about the same in the United States as it was in Korea, for Colorado anyway. And like I said, we just recently had our policy updated, and I think we're paying like $90 a month. So if you add all these up, in Colorado, it's about $2,700. Let's just round it up and call it $2,800. And here in Korea, you say, $1,700, maybe $1,800. So you're saving some money on this, which is good. But yeah, it's kind of cool. Now, with the paid off home scenario, the numbers look like this. In Colorado, we were paying $905 a month. That was our mortgage because we had a huge down payment. Here in Korea, it's $607, so the difference just in our housing alone was about $300. There's always some other expenses that you can look into, but let's see if we can find. Oh yeah, here it is. I still have it. So, and we're not going to play this, but it's how much for food at an open air market in Korea, and we just go through and showed our haul. Wife, and we just finished up a shopping trip on the open air market. So this is kind of getting stuttering. It doesn't have anything to do with the video. It has to do that I'm using this streaming service thing that records and streams at the same time, and for some reason it stutters the audio on here. But basically what we end up saying is that let me see if I can make this bigger. Yes, I can. So we can go through, we did a haul and got a bunch of food there, as you can see on the table. And kind of like I just did a video like this. So 2 packages of raw seaweed, do that was 5,000 won. So to give you kind of a reference, 5,000 won divided by the current exchange rate, or close to it, is $3.70. So yeah, you're looking at about 370, maybe 380, but we got 2 huge packages of that. And let's see what else we got. kimchi, a bag of kimchi, radish kimchi was 10,000 won. Potatoes, we got a bag of potatoes there for like 3,000 won. We ended up getting tofu, which is 4,000 won, which that's a lot of tofu. Let me see what else. Got a big thing, two big things of spinach. That was 4,000 won. It's gone up since then. The eggs ends up that 30 farm fresh eggs for 10,000 won. So we kind of did a number on there. Bananas are 5,000 won. Now you can get these on post, but this is just off post. And they taste a little different, but you know, potato, minced ginger, a couple bags of those, 2,000 won. Mushrooms, we got a big bag of mushrooms there, was 3,000 won. And then a bunch of carrots. We ended up, there's the carrots over there, that was 3,000 won. You see what else we get. And so the total for everything on the table here was $53. And this was back in January of 2024. So this was a little while ago, but yeah, basically $55 for all of that there, 30 eggs, all of that stuff. And the great thing is on the open air markets where we live is that they occur on every day that ends in 3 or 8. And other places in Korea will have different markets and might have, you know, different numbers. But whatever the ending number of the day is will indicate when the open air market is. Ours just happens to be the 3 and the 8, so they call it the 3-8 market. So anyway, yeah, that hope that answers some questions into comparison of where you live. And I swear, I'm getting more and more messages from people that are asking about comparisons. Like I said, I just did a video where I did this, and then I got a bunch of more videos or more questions about it and saying it. And it's like, hey, I saw you did the comparison or talking about Colorado, but we live in, you know, Los Angeles, or we live in Denver, or we live in Florida, or whatever. And it's like, what are the price differences like? I don't know what the prices are where you're at. So it's kind of hard. But that Numbeo site really does help kind of get you within the ballpark of expenses. And that just reminds me, there was another question that I forgot to look for from this person. This person ends up asking, what is it? Dental. How is, what is the cost of dental work in Korea compared to the United States in your experience? Basically, you're kind of wondering about dental. And I went over this in the last video as well. Here in Korea, like I have Delta dental insurance from the military as a retiree. So we pay about $110 for that policy for the year, and it covers, you know, like an exam, an x-ray, basic cleaning a couple times a year, and whatever else. You know, if you get some cavities filled, you got to do some copay action or whatever. What's interesting, though, is that we are actually losing money by having that $100 a month copay, because here in Korea, the price of getting an exam and getting a teeth cleaned and maybe getting 1 or 2 cavities a year is cheaper, than paying $100 a month for 12 months. You know, that's $1,200 or more. And it's cheaper to just cancel the insurance and pay it out of pocket. Now, if you have a lot of, so that tells you right there. First, let me tell you, that tells you that the cost of dental work here in Korea is definitely a lot cheaper than what it is in the United States. Now, if we're talking about big ticket items, I did a video where I talked about the dental work that I got done that I had to pay out of pocket. In other words, this was above and beyond the policy. And I got 4 implants. I got like crowns, like 5 or 6 crowns, something like that. And I got some nice teeth now. And they did some great work on it. And I think it ended up like $700, maybe $6,000, somewhere around there. And when you're talking about implants in the United States, there's people that were sending me messages that were saying, "Hey, I'm paying $3,000 for one implant, or I'm paying $2,750 for one implant." And these are the Osteen implants, the kind of the high-end ones, the real nice ones. So it's not like Korean implants are kind of shady and they're using bargain basement stuff. No, it's these are high-end implants, and the work that I got was incredible. Probably the best dental work I have ever gotten in my entire life. And I can tell you, you'd think getting implants are going to pull teeth, they're going to drill, and I'm thinking, I've had pain from regular dentists in the United States and in the military. This is going to drive me through the wall. You better just put me out. And it's like, no. We're just going to, we'll give you some shots of Novocaine and we'll nuv it up and make sure it's all. And I'm like, yeah, right. Giving the shots, I didn't feel any pain. Now I know that's subjective, but they used such a small needle and they blocked the certain nerves that were supposed to be blocked, and it was just incredible. I think there was 1 or 2 times out of the 6-month period that I had to go back and forth and get work done. There was 1 or 2 times, no, I'd say there's 2 times where, it hurt when they gave the shot, but he apologized. And he was always apologizing. I'm sorry, I didn't pinch and do this. And it was like I didn't feel anything for the majority of the treatment. As far as the dental work itself, as far as extracting, drilling, putting in the implants, getting a temporary tooth on there, and then, of course, living with that for a while, and you got to take it easy, eat soft food so the implant can bond with the bone in your jaw and so on and so forth. If you have enough bone in there, and I did, which was good. I was awesome. It was incredible. And like I said, I thought it would be the most miserable experience, and I was like putting it off. But it was getting to the point of where, I need to get some teeth, and I need to get fixed. Surprisingly, it was an awesome experience. And then with the crowns and all of that stuff, I got some really nice looking teeth, and they work great. So and I had people, like I said, contacting me, letting me know, hey, I'm paying $30. There was somebody in New York, if I remember correctly, who said they were paying like $3,200 or $3,300 for one implant. Insane. So this is also dependent upon getting a dentist that has good reviews. And so I got to give credit where credit is due to my wife, because she perused the interwebs in Korea and found this place that had awesome reviews. And it was close by to us, so it was kind of like 15, 20 minutes away. Pyeongtaek, and then just a little bit further away where Samsung is building their new manufacturing facility in Godok. Huge. So anyway, they got new apartments, a new dentist, and this guy, he got his dentist doctor thing at Harvard. So he's a Harvard dentist, and he spoke a little bit of English, and the staff were awesome. Prices were not bad. Of course, I had to pay everything out of pocket, but I had already budgeted for that. But I thought I was going to be paying at least $10,000 for the work. 10, 12 grand is kind of, and I had contacted other places overseas, like, Costa Rica or some other South American place to redo. And it was going to cost me about, to get uppers and lowers, everything replaced was about $24,000. And even with what I got done in Korea was cheaper than what I could get in those other places. And the other thing you have to take into account is that if I had to fly to a foreign country and get the work done, then I would have to go back to the United States. And if there's problems, I would have to get that would come out of my pocket and see a dentist in the United States, which has higher prices, or fly back to that foreign country to get the work fixed and done. And that just didn't give me a warm fuzzy. I don't know why. Maybe the horror stories of Turkey and people that get work done. It's just a lot of people get great work done in other countries. I mean, I got great work done here in Korea, and there is medical tourism here in Korea. But it's definitely the best dental experience I've had. Some other people have asked, now that we're talking about medical and dental and things like that, what about glasses? Glasses are, there's places in Korea where you can get glasses in 15, 20 minutes. So you go in there, you do your eye test, they put machines on you, and next thing you know, you're in a mall or something like that, and 20, 30 minutes later, you have a pair of glasses. Boom, done, or an hour. The place where I got my glasses from, it sends it out, and then they ship it to him, and then he contacts us. I think it was like 5 days, 7 days, and I was able to get my glasses. But definitely a lot cheaper here in Korea than what it was in the United States. But then again, I'm not going for Ray-Ban. I'm not going for the Louis Vuitton or the high-end stuff. I just want, Barney basic glasses. These have the progressive lens because bifocal, no line, all that stuff, UV treated, whoosy whatsy, blocking blue thingy majig glasses, and they're cheaper than what they were in the United States. So that is a benefit as well. There's also medical clinics here in Korea, and they're kind of like general practitioners, but they don't have GPs here in Korea per se. If you need to see a medical doctor for, let's say, pain management, like I've got some spinal injuries and I got some pain management, I would have to go see that specialist and make an appointment to see that doctor for anything, whether it's refills, prescription, new prescription, refills, whatever. I would have to go see them. If I have mental health appointment and I have medication for that, I have to go make an appointment for that. If I have such stuff with my stomach and, let's say I got GERD and this and that and whatever, and I got medication for those, I would have to make an appointment with that doctor. So for each issue that I have, I would have to see the specialist in that area to get prescriptions or refills and so on and so forth, which is vastly different than what we see in the United States, because in the States, I could go see my general practitioner and say, hey, I need some more mental health drugs, I need more stomach medicine, I need more this and that, and I can get 4 or 5 meds refilled, boom, all in one appointment. That's not how they do it here in Korea. Yeah, not how they do it. You have to do a separate appointment for each one of those, and most of the time you're going to be going back every 30 days to get your medications. Mental health medications, they have you come back every 30 days. Sometimes in bigger hospitals, they'll let you go depending on the situation. You can get a prescription for 90 days. Depends on how jacked up you are. But yeah, other medications, you're looking at going back every single month, which is weird because this puts an overburden on the hospitals. But then again, the hospitals make a lot of money because now you have people coming in every single month to get their medications. In the United States, oh man, I could go see my doctor, I could get the refill, and then I could have 3 call-in refills. They don't do that here in Korea. So be aware. Be aware. And I've heard this from other vets and people who have retired here in Korea, that's one of the things that they don't like is the Korean medical system, is that you have to keep going every month or every other month to get your medications and make appointments with every single doctor for every single one of the medications you have. It's not as simple like the United States. Oh, I need to see my GP. Yeah, I need refills on this, and this, these 5 medications. And they're like, oh, okay, here you go. And then I have a month's worth of medication or 90 days worth of medications at one pop, and then I have 3 call-in refills. Yeah, that is a big difference than now I got to go back every 30 days or every other. There's medications that I have where I have to go back every 30 days, and there's medications where it's like now they'll do it for 2 months. But hopefully we're going to look at a different hospital and see if we can't get those pushed out to 60 days. Maybe we can squeeze it out to 90. I don't know. There's some people, Americans and expats that have been here that say, yeah, I was able to get my meds on 90 days. So I guess it depends on the hospital you go to. So we're going to switch hospitals and try with a different one sometime in the near future. But that's just, if we still get stuck going back every 90 days, that's just some of the hurdles that you're going to face while you're here in Korea. Let's see, what else have we got going on? Some other people asked me questions. I'm trying to remember. Oh, visas. People were asking me about the F4 and the F1 visa. That's what me and my wife have. She has Korean ancestry. She was a Korean citizen. She became an American citizen, and then she came back, and with the F1 visa or the F4, I got the F1, I think it is, whatever it is. I can't work on my visa. So good thing I have my pension and money and stuff and so on and so forth. The wife with her visa, I think she's the F4. She could work for a Korean employer. She's allowed to do that. Of course, she's not going to because we're both retired. Now, in my circumstance, I could work over remotely as long as I don't work for a Korean company. And let's say I work for an employer in the United States and I can do remote work, kind of like the digital nomad thing. I could still do that. Okay. But if you're technically doing the digital nomad thing, you're working for a company, and yeah, it would be better just to go with the digital nomad thing on that. But again, you got to talk to an immigration lawyer. We have a pretty good immigration lawyer. She's awesome to us, and yeah, it wasn't bad. Which brings up the other question. People were asking me how can I get that F4 and F1 visa? There's two ways to do it. In our case, what we did is we arrived in Korea on a tourist visa. So in other words, we could stay in Korea for up to 90 days. You just show up, yeah, boom, here we are, we're going to have 90 days. And then after we got here, after the first week, we contacted our immigration lawyer. We put in the application and did all the paperwork and paid some money for them to process it, and boom. It was about $500-$600, somewhere around there. Again, your mileage may vary with inflation and exchange rates. But it took 2.5 months to get approval for our F4 and F1 visa. And this was during the holidays, so Thanksgiving, Christmas time frame, so it was a little bit longer than normal, but it was 2.5 months. With that being said, we had to wait 2.5 months before we could open a Korean bank account, before we could get Korean cell phone service, before we could, so there's a number of things. It's kind of like, okay, this kind of puts everything on hold until we get our visas approved. So that's one way to do it, is to come here on a tourist visa, and as soon as you submit your application for your F4 and F1 visa, you're on hold. So if it takes, let's say it took 3 months and we were past that 90-day tourist visa time, you don't have to worry about it because you're waiting for the response of your application for those visas. So you're able to stay longer as long as you have that paperwork submitted. But again, usually it's about maybe 2.5 months, which isn't bad. The second way in which you could do this is to apply for the F1 and F4 visa prior to coming to Korea. So in other words, you can do all this at a Korean consulate, and with that would save you a lot of time. So instead of having to live in an Airbnb or rent a place out for a few months, month to month, live in an office tel or whatever it is, depending on your budget, and have to wait around for 2.5 months. If you go to a Korean consulate in the United States, put in the application, you do all the work, and it gets approved, then you can come to Korea. Then as soon as you land, boom, you can open up a Korean bank account. You can go ahead and buy a vehicle. You can buy property. Of course, you could buy property beforehand as well. There's actually people who have bought property without even being in Korea. It's a thing. You can actually buy property on a tourist visa, but you're still going to have paperwork done. You're still going to have to make sure that you have financing or you have the funds to purchase the property, and you'll need to get permission from the Korean government. It's just a checkbox thing to make sure that you're not laundering drug money or anything like that, and that you check out. But if you have your visa, it's a lot better because you're already vetted. In other words, you have your FBI background check, you've been checked up, down, left, and right, and you're good to go. So getting that approval for purchasing that property is just another bonus into, yeah, they're good to go. So, but people have bought property here in Korea without even being in Korea, and it is possible. Other people have asked, well, can foreigners get financing at Korean banks to buy property? Yes, you can. It's similar to the United States. I've met a couple people online who live in Korea that are doing that, but they have an income stream. They go to a Korean bank. They have to verify the amount of income that they have with monthly statements, yearly statements. They have to have a good history of making money and so on and so forth. And of course, if you have a Korean bank account and a history of depositing money and so on and so forth, have a significant amount of savings, that will throw things in your favor. You know, kind of like what is that movie? The Hunger Games. Let the odds forever be in your favor, whatever that hell that saying is. But yes, there are people that have gotten financing through Korean banks, but those people have been in Korea for a while. They have an income stream, and again, it's that debt to income ratio. For the majority of people like I've dealt with, people that have seen what me and my wife have done, and they want to do what we did, and they've come and done what we have done, these people generally have money that can pay for an apartment or a house or villa or whatever it is, and they're just, boom, they're going to pay everything off like we did, and it's a done deal, which actually shortens the amount of time it will take to purchase a property in Korea, because you don't have to go through and jump through extra hoops, because you have to get financing and get bank approvals, and everybody needs to check this and that and the whole 9 yards. It makes it a lot easier if you have cash in hand. So that is a thing that you can do here in Korea. So let's see what else. Trying to think back of the messages, but they're generally that's usually what happens. Banking, Korean banking. Some banks are better than others. Some banks really good, other banks not so much. And don't expect for them to speak English. Most Korean banks. It's hard to find a Korean bank with an English-speaking representative, so me having my wife, or you could hire a translator or something like that, would definitely help to have somebody do that. So, but once you get your Korean bank account, we were told you can't open another bank account in 30 days. And that's a thing here in Korea. So, yeah, we opened our bank account and that's it. We just had to wait. Not that we would need to open any more bank accounts, because to simplify it, make it easy is what it comes down to. It's not like the United States where you have multiple bank accounts. I think that was a thing where the more bank accounts you had, the better. Or we lived here, so we got a bank account here. And then we moved, so we got a bank account here. And now we have 3 or 4 different bank accounts. Yeah, that's tiresome. So in Korea, you have your one bank account, you're good to go. Limits on withdrawals. That was the other thing I was thinking about. When we got our Korean registration, after our visas were approved and we opened our Korean bank account, they said there was a limit on how much we could withdraw for each day. And I want to think it was like 1,000,000 a day. But there were certain items we couldn't withdraw anything more than that, like we're going to buy a car. $10,000 to buy a car. You're like, nah, what are you going to use it for? You can't pull that out. And it's like, well, we're buying a car. You have to give them justification and proof that you are buying a high-ticket item. So what we ended up doing is using an app, kind of like Carvana or CarMax or whatever, and show that, hey, this is the car that we're buying, here's the contract, blah, blah, blah. And they look at it and verify it, and, okay, well, yeah, then here's the money. A lot different than in the United States. And then the same thing for large amounts of money that are being transferred from a Korean or from a U.S. bank to a Korean bank. There are some reporting procedures, of course, in the United States. If you withdraw more than $9,000 or $10,000, whatever it is, that's going to be reportable because you're just moving that amount of money. But the same thing in the U.S. bank at Navy Federal Credit Union, they're like, you want how much? And it's like, yeah, we need $250,000. And it's like, yeah, that's going to take us a little bit of time. We need to coordinate this. And so we did. But they're like, well, what do you need this for? And it's like, well, we're buying an apartment. They're like, oh, okay, no problem. Boom, done deal. So then we took it to a Korean money exchange place to get a better exchange rate. Don't use a Korean bank. To get better exchange rates are generally better than what you will get than transferring funds from an American bank to a Korean bank and getting the exchange rates there. So that's what we ended up doing. And then, of course, when we went to the closing, we ended up paying in cash, which is the thing here in Korea. You can do bank transfers, so we could have, put the money in our Korean bank, and then when we needed to transfer the money over to the seller's account, we could have done that, but the seller wanted cash. And it was a quick sale. I don't know why, but people still pay for cash, so it's not unheard of. And so we go to closing, we're like, what the hell's going on? Who does this? And our realtor told us that is a thing that people they're old school here. Some people are old school here, and they will buy apartments in cash and count it out. They had the machine, the whole 9 yards, and went through all of it. It's different than in the United States. So the closing was a little bit different. So we ended up closing. Of course, we paid the cash. Everything was good. There was a lawyer there, real estate lawyer. Of course, you have to pay the fees to the realtor, the Korean lawyer, for real estate issues and so on and so forth. And we bought our apartment. And then I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks that after all the paperwork was done, then the government sent the paperwork giving the title and deed in my name to this apartment. So, yeah. For the people that say, foreigners can't buy property in Korea, I've got a title. I have a deed with my name on it saying that I own this place. So, yeah, if you hear somebody saying, no, foreigners can't buy property, no, verboten and whatever, can't do it, that is absolutely untrue. Maybe there was some time in the past, or I think one person contacted me and they said, yeah, no, we asked the wife's family members and they said that foreigners can't buy property. And it's like, you just need to trust but verify the information. I'm not calling these people saying that they're bad, but maybe they just misheard some information and they just kind of passed it along as gospel truth when in fact it wasn't. So it's just really interesting. It's unnerving going through and uprooting yourself from the United States. I didn't think I would leave, but staying in the United States, doing the numbers and crunching and all that, I wouldn't be able to retire until I was 70. And with the huge increases in all our expenses that we were seeing, I don't know if we were going to be able to retire. And the thing was, my wife, she was working at a nonprofit agency that did home care for elderly people, low-income elderly people. And she was doing that, and these expenses are still going up and up and up. A little bit of Social Security, they're getting grants for being low income or whatever, and that's the only way they could make it. And even then, there was people that couldn't afford toilet paper. They're kind of doing the, let's wash with a cup of water or bucket of water or whatever to wash the nether regions. The wife ended up buying toilet paper for a number of seniors and so on and so forth. And I just didn't want that. I didn't want to work anymore. And so the draw to retiring overseas is that it made it possible for us to retire overseas early. And we retired at, 54? I finally had enough, and I said once I found out we could do this and it was possible, I was done at 54. And then our daughter had us come over to Oahu. We spent a year there. We thought we were going to retire there. Way too expensive for housing, insane prices, and it's just getting worse and worse. Homeless problems in Oahu, that's a whole nother video. But then we checked out Korea, we checked out some other places. Actually, I lied. We checked out other places like Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, Thailand. Didn't really look into Bali, but we looked at some other places, but nothing really clicked. And that's because when I looked for retirement visas here in Korea, they don't have like retirement friendly, lower income visas like Thailand or Bali or Portugal or other places where, yeah, you just need like $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month or $1,200, and you can get a retirement visa or a pension auto visa. But then we found out that even though they didn't have those retirement visas here in Korea, and they do, but you just basically have to be a millionaire to afford it. It's insane. But we found out because of the wife's ancestry that she could get her visa, and then I could get the visa of being her spouse, which would allow us to be here in Korea on a long-term visa. And now our visas are good for 2 years, and we can renew them, and boom, we're good to go. And eventually, when I hit 62, I think it is, what is it, 62? There's another visa that, let me see if I can find it. There's another visa that if you've been here for a while, you gotta click that, then you gotta type. Banking in Korea, visa at 62. So yeah, it's at 62. There's a visa at 62, and you have to make twice the gross national income, which right now is about $33,000, $34,000 in pensions, Social Security, or money coming in. You can get an F513 visa, and it's good for 10 years, but it's going to take about 9 months to be approved, is what this individual told me. Other people that have told me about this said it was about 6 months, and I found information at 6 to 9 months. Somewhere within there, you can get this F513 visa, and once it's approved, you're good for life, and you just have to get fingerprinted every 10 years. So in other words, they just have to know you're alive and, give them some fingers in case you change your fingerprints or whatever. But basically, there's an application form. You have proof of income, which is going to show the money that you have coming in. And usually that, for us, it included 2 years of tax returns, 2 years of bank statements. And for this, it says bank statements for over the last year, criminal background check, passport, copy of that, photos, the little 2x2 photos, proof of residence in Korea, with rental agreement and or you own property. And down here, the individual said it cost him about 300,000 won, which 300,000 won divided by 1350 is about $2,310, somewhere around there, $2,300 for the F513 visa, and it's good for 10 years. So, yeah, I'm 58 now, going to be 58 this year. So 59, 60, 61, 62. So I got 4 years left, and I can get that visa put in for that. But then there's also the visa, for my wife, because she's a Korean citizen, that at 65, she can get dual citizenship. And so, in other words, she can get her Korean citizenship back, and she can be an American citizen at the same time. And that will be a done deal as well. Now, there is some talk going around that Korea might lower the age for that dual citizenship, but so far nothing concrete has been said, so it's still it's still in limbo. So anyway, that's what we got going on. But yeah, I mean, once you get this visa, the F513 visa, it's good for 10 years, and yeah, no other requirements, and you're good. So there was a couple of people that sent me the information on that, and that I filed that away in my notes, and it's good to go. So anyway, yeah, that's what we got going on. It ends up that some questions some people have asked in regards to cost of living comparisons. We went over a lot of information using the Numbeo website, giving them some insight into medical, dental, a little bit of banking, and not a lot of crazy riots going on here to Korea. There's still the Korean doctor strike going on, which is weird because basically that has kind of disappeared from the media. It used to be this big thing during the election, and now it's like they're still on strike. I don't know. And that's causing problems for a lot of people because they're limiting the amount of doctors that are able basically a bunch of doctors just quit work, about 9 to 10,000 of them, and they're still done. They're still not working. I don't understand. It is insane. And the fact that that's what the Korean Medical Association, the KMA, doesn't want any new doctors. And for the last 20 some odd, 27 years, Korea has not increased the amount of doctors at all, which is insane. And if you go to a Korean hospital, if you go to the big hospitals in Seoul, it is like a crowded train station in Korea during rush hour. It is insane. And it reminds you of totalitarian, we have 5 or 6 stations of the same thing. Go get your test, get your test, get your test, get your test. Go over here, see another one, get test, test, test. And it's not like in the United States. You see your doctor, but the doctor's going to see 100, 150 patients a day. That's normal. And then the average amount of time that Korean doctors spend with a patient is 3 to 4 minutes, if that. And it's insane. But that's a whole nother video. But yeah, they haven't been talking about that. But those are mainly teaching hospitals where they train doctors and residents and so on and so forth. So we're looking at hospitals that the hospital we go to is Good Morning Hospital, but we're looking to change that and check out another hospital to see if we can get a little bit better care and service, because we're not 100% happy. Let's just put it that way. So it has its place because it's close by, but this other hospital is about an hour out. But from what we've heard, it's got a lot of great reviews, and so we're going to check that out and see what happens. So with that being said, that's all we got going on. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Comparison to living in Korea and living in the United States and seeing how things go. So anyway, so for the people, I left you anonymous. I answered your questions, and other people that asked me questions, I threw those in, and other stuff that came to mind. And yeah, we spent like an hour and 15 minutes going over all this stuff. So yeah, if you hung with me this far, gold stars for everybody. That is awesome. Just chalk that up to endurance. But anyway, I hope you learned some things about this and how you can use some websites. And if you check out my page, The Buried Life, you can find out some other videos on my playlist for being retired in Korea, for like searching for real estate using Naver and Chrome, or a browser that has Korean translation to English. And you can kind of narrow down some stuff. I got other videos and experience of shopping for our apartment and what we went through, just to share how we did it. And that has helped out a number of people who've really appreciated the videos. And yeah, that's a good thing, because when we came here, we didn't have anybody to show us or share examples of the situations that they went through when they came and retired here. So we're just kind of doing it on our own. And so when I made these videos, I wanted to share because I know there are some people like us in our situation. And it's always nice to have somebody who's actually had boots on the ground and actually went through these things. I think I found a couple of blog posts from like 10 years ago, before we came to Korea, about 10 years. And it's like, yeah, that was 10 years ago. What's it like now? And yeah, that's kind of why we do these videos, or why I do these videos, to try to give people an up-to-date look on what we're going through as we went through that process. So anyway, that's it. It's 10:30 at night here in Korea on Monday, the 29th. So we're going to let that go, let you all go. Enjoy your day. You should be your weekend still, I think. Because if it's Monday here, it's, I don't know, whatever day it is and wherever you live. So be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that. And if you have any other questions, send them in a PM. I can address them if they're short. If I'm lazy, I'll make a video and post it anonymously so more people can benefit from the answers. And we'll just kind of go that route. Yeah. All right. Peace. We'll see you.